In his second term starting in 2025, President Donald Trump has undertaken a series of extensive renovations to the White House, altering at least 10 spaces within the first year, a pace and scale described by historians and architects as unmatched in modern presidential history. These changes range from cosmetic enhancements like gilding and portrait rearrangements to major structural demolitions, such as the complete razing of the East Wing to make way for a massive new ballroom. According to reports from the New York Times and BBC, the transformations began shortly after Trump's inauguration, with initial work on the Rose Garden in March 2025, paving its lawn with limestone by August to create a more durable surface for events, preventing guests from ruining their shoes on grass. The Oval Office saw gold leaf applied to walls and the presidential seal on the ceiling, while the Cabinet Room was outfitted with 3 new chandeliers in September 2025, gold accents, and multiple historical portraits. By October 2025, amid a government shutdown, demolition crews tore down the East Wing's covered entryway and windows, bypassing traditional approval processes and sparking legal challenges from preservation groups like the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Funding for these projects varies, with Trump personally covering some costs and pledging private donor support for larger endeavors, including the ballroom estimated at between $250 million and $400 million, as noted in Al Jazeera and NPR coverage. Critics, including those in The Guardian, have highlighted the irony of such lavish spending during a period of high inflation and public concerns over living costs, while supporters argue the updates enhance functionality for hosting world leaders and events. Trump's vision draws from his personal style, reminiscent of Mar-a-Lago, incorporating maximalist elements like gold fixtures and custom plaques. The West Colonnade was converted into a presidential walk of fame by December 2025, featuring portraits of all presidents with opinionated descriptions penned by Trump himself, such as praising Ronald Reagan as someone he was a fan of and labeling Barack Obama as divisive. Flagpoles reaching 88 feet were installed on the north and south lawns in October, touted by Trump as the largest and best anywhere. The Palm Room lost its lush plants and seating, replaced by marble floors and chandeliers, while the Lincoln bathroom received black and white marble with gold accents, revealed in late October. The entrance hall swapped Obama's portrait for a painting of Trump raising his fist after a 2024 assassination attempt, an unusual move for a sitting president. These alterations have drawn mixed reactions internationally, with Bloomberg reporting on broader plans to redesign federal buildings in Washington, and the Society of Architectural Historians expressing concerns over the ballroom's size, potentially dwarfing the historic structure. Trump's quotes, such as calling the flagpoles the best in the world, underscore his hands-on approach, as detailed in White House statement from July 2025 announcing the ballroom construction to begin in September, expected to conclude before term's end. Overall, these changes reflect a bold reimagining of the People's House, blending personal branding with functional upgrades, though not without controversy over preservation norms and public funding implications. The Oval Office, the symbolic center of presidential authority, underwent significant gilding in October 2025, with gold leaf covering a third of the walls and the presidential seal on the ceiling, as documented in the New York Times interactive feature. More than 20 portraits now adorn the space, including a relocated Ulysses S. Grant to accommodate one of Jacqueline Kennedy, whom Trump admires, alongside busts of Benjamin Franklin and Abraham Lincoln on small tables flanking the Resolute desk, which also display gold-accented gifts from foreign dignitaries. This maximalist style extends to the adjacent Oval Office study, transformed by October into a display area resembling a gift shop, filled with Trump-branded merchandise, such as hats alluding to a third term, despite constitutional prohibitions, and items from his Victory 45 to 47 fragrance line, including books and MAGA hats, shown to visitors but not for sale. The Cabinet Room, traditionally an austere venue for advisor meetings, was similarly opulentized with gold accents and gilded antiques from historical collections placed on the mantel, including plates dating to 1958, as per BBC and NPR reports. 3 chandeliers were added in September 2025, illuminating an ornate mirror and multiple flags, 8 behind the president's chair and 7 more military ones scattered throughout, while portraits like the Peacemakers depicting Lincoln, Sherman, Grant, and Porter hang above the mantel, joined by those of James K. Polk, described by Trump in a July cabinet meeting as a real estate guy, Dwight D. Eisenhower, as the toughest president until his own tenure, and Abraham Lincoln from his bedroom. Plaques on the president's chair commemorate both inauguration dates, emphasizing continuity in his leadership. These changes, funded partly by Trump personally, aim to create a more grandiose atmosphere for decision-making, but have faced scrutiny for deviating from historical simplicity, with experts noting the additions echo Trump's Mar-a-Lago aesthetic rather than White House traditions. International coverage in ArtNet highlights how such redesigns dramatize the space, potentially influencing perceptions of power. Trump's involvement is evident in his selection of decor, such as borrowing a gorgeous grandfather clock from Secretary of State Marco Rubio's office for the room. By October 2025, these executive spaces had been fully updated, allowing for bilateral meetings on the gilded oval office mantel and enhanced cabinet discussions under new lighting. Preservationists argue these alterations risk erasing layers of history, while supporters praise the functionality, like easier navigation in revamped areas. The speed of implementation, amid a government shutdown, raised questions about protocol adherence, as detailed in Al Jazeera's overview of the broader renovation plans. Overall, these core executive transformations embody Trump's vision of a more personalized and luxurious seat of power, setting a tone for his second term's governance style. The West Colonnade, connecting the West Wing to the residence, was reimagined as a presidential walk of fame by December 2025, featuring chronological portraits of every U.S. president accompanied by custom plaques written by Trump, as reported by the New York Times and confirmed by White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. These descriptions vary in tone, praising allies like Ronald Reagan with notes that Trump was a fan, while critiquing others, such as calling Barack Obama divisive, despite his high favorability, and replacing Joe Biden's portrait with an image of an auto pen signing to reference unfounded cognitive decline claims. A mock-up appeared in September, leading to the full installation amid public debate over injecting personal opinions into historical displays. The Rose Garden, a venue for announcements since its 1962 design under Jacqueline Kennedy, saw its lawn paved over with limestone in August 2025, creating a hard surface for events to avoid grass damaging shoes, according to BBC and Guardian articles. Speakers were integrated among the retained rose bushes and yellow and white striped umbrellas, mirroring those at Mar-a-Lago's pool deck, were added, hosting gatherings like the Rose Garden Club for Republican allies by October. This change, initiated in March, prioritizes practicality for larger crowds, but has drawn criticism from horticultural experts for altering the garden's natural charm. Massive 88-foot flagpoles were erected on the north and south lawns in October 2025, surpassing the 70-foot ones at Trump's Los Angeles Golf Club and Mar-a-Lago, with Trump boasting in statements that they're the best poles in the country and world, the largest ever seen, as covered in NPR's timeline of White House renovations. These additions aim to enhance patriotic displays, but have been questioned for their scale in a historic setting. International perspectives, such as in Bloomberg's graphics on Trump's Washington rebuild, contextualize these outdoor changes within ambitious federal redesigns, potentially replacing neglected buildings with neoclassical visions. The Guardian's commentary critiques the gaudy taste, suggesting national refurbishment should be collective rather than individualistic. Funding for these elements came from private sources, aligning with Trump's pledge to avoid taxpayer burden, though costs remain opaque beyond the broader ballroom estimates. Legal and ethical concerns arose from the rapid pace, especially during the October shutdown, bypassing reviews. By late 2025, these pathways and gardens had become symbols of Trump's imprint, blending functionality with personal flair, though not without pushback from preservationists worried about long-term impacts on the White House's heritage. The Palm Room, serving as a lobby between the West Wing and executive residence, was stripped of its simpler light fixtures, lush potted plants, seating, and credenzas by October 2025, replaced with 3 chandeliers, marble floors, and sparse decor, including small pictures of plants instead of real ones, creating a more minimalist yet luxurious space, as detailed in the New York Times and ArtNet's coverage of Trump's dramatic redesigns. This shift emphasizes durability and elegance over traditional greenery, aligning with broader aesthetic updates. The Lincoln bathroom, associated with the historic bedroom, received a full remodel revealed in late October 2025, featuring black and white marble on floors, walls, and sink, gold faucets and light fixtures, a chandelier, and a gold dish holding soap with the presidential seal, which Trump described on social media as very appropriate for Abraham Lincoln's time, though a former White House historian countered that it bears no resemblance to 1860s interiors per Society of Architectural Historians' statements. Work began in July, focusing on opulent materials to evoke grandeur. The entrance hall, used for welcoming heads of state, saw Barack Obama's portrait replaced in April 2025 with a painting of Trump pumping his fist after the 2024 assassination attempt, an atypical choice for a sitting president who usually waits post-tenure for such unveilings and bipartisan ceremonies, like Bill Clinton's at George H.W. Bush's event in 1995, as noted in NPR and Al Jazeera reports. This self-portrait edition personalizes the prominent hallway, sparking discussions on presidential norms. These interior changes, part of a wave documented in Wikipedia's entry on the new White House State Ballroom and related expansions, reflect Trump's preference for gold and marble, drawing from his properties. Funding remains private, with Trump covering personal projects, avoiding public expense amid inflation concerns highlighted in The Guardian. International articles, including BBC's on East Wing demolition, tie these to larger structural shifts, but these rooms focus on cosmetic enhancements. Critics argue they risk overwriting history, while supporters see them as refreshing outdated spaces. By October 2025, these historic areas have been fully updated, enhancing their visual appeal for visitors and events, though preservation groups like the National Trust have filed lawsuits over protocol breaches in related demolitions. Trump's hands-on role, evident in decor selections, underscores a term defined by bold personalization. The East Wing, a 1900 structure housing the tour entrance, First Lady's office, Jacqueline Kennedy Garden, and East Colonnade, was entirely demolished in October 2025 during a government shutdown, clearing space for a new ballroom announced in July via White House statements, with construction starting in September and costs escalating to potentially $400 million, funded by Trump and donors, as reported by the New York Times, BBC, and Al Jazeera. Initially planned at $250 million for 650 capacity, it ballooned to 89,000 square feet, accommodating 900, prompting clashes with architects and new hires, with Trump assuring it won't interfere with the main building, though critics fear it will dwarf the White House. The raising, capturing rubble views from the Washington Monument, bypassed approvals, leading to lawsuit from the National Trust and concern from the Society of Architectural Historians over preservation. Future plans include an upper west wing, adding a second level atop the west colonnade for extra offices and space for future First Ladies, with designs underway as of early 2026, per Trump's recent interviews. These expansions fit into broader visions outlined in Bloomberg's piece on demolishing federal offices for neoclassical rebuilds. International reactions vary, with The Guardian labeling it gaudy individualism unfit for national efforts, NPR comparing it to Truman's 1948 to 1952 gut renovation, and ArtNet noting dramatic facade changes. Trump's July announcement hailed the ballroom as big and beautiful, expected complete before term's end. Public debate centers on costs during economic strains, with inflation a top concern, though private funding mitigates taxpayer impact. Preservationists decry norm-breaking speed and scale, while supporters praise enhanced hosting capabilities for world leaders over the East Room's limits. By January 2026, legal pressures mount, but work progresses amid shutdowns. Overall, these major changes encapsulate Trump's second-term agenda, prioritizing grandeur and functionality while igniting global discussions on historic integrity.